I revamped a village in Minecraft. Well, hello there. My name is Pixlr and welcome back to another video on the building series on this channel, and today is a special one. Over the last couple of months I've been building. I've been learning myself a little bit of Minecraft building, and I wanted to test myself by revamping a whole village. Well, not every building, but almost a whole village, plain village in Minecraft. I'm going to go through all the buildings that I revamped, look at the things I've learned, and hopefully you learn a little bit too about building if you're starting out, wanting to know some little tips for building in Minecraft, starting out in this beautiful game, making some beautiful things. So I hope you enjoy, and let's start with the first building I ever revamped of this village. Let's go. Oh yeah, and before we start the video, I wanted to say a massive thank you again for the 50 subscribers on this channel. I've been enjoying making videos very much, and I'm going to continue doing that, I think, and yeah, I really appreciate you all for supporting me so far. So be sure to subscribe if you like these videos. What? I'm doing all sorts of things in Minecraft on this channel, so yeah, be sure to stick around, subscribe, and yeah, enjoy all these videos that I'm making. So let's get started. So this is the first one, the typical DOG Minecraft house that everyone thinks of when we say Minecraft house, village house. I wanted to keep using the oak logs, the cobblestone as a filler material for the oak log frame, and I also wanted to keep this roof design with all coming down to one peak at the top. So let's see what I made from this first Minecraft house. Here it is. Pretty cool, right? As I said, I kept the same materials, the oak logs as a frame and the cobblestone in the middle. I've moved back the inside a little bit. This is a first great tip for building. Don't make your walls flat. Always make it interesting by making some depth in the walls. The second thing I recommend doing is making these little things some more detail in the frames by using stairs and trap doors. So I did that, and I also added some mossy cobblestone and moss for some variation in the walls. As you can see, I also made a little bit of decorations outside, some composters, some different blocks in the ground will all add to the more realistic look of this building. I also added some hay bales and some leafage all around. And as you can see, I've stuck with the roof design from the old house, but I've broken it up a bit for some more detail and some more interesting looks together with the leaves. A pretty good start of this revamp of a village, I think, and this building really made me think that I wanted to build a little bit more in Minecraft. Alright, so the first building is done. Let's look at the second one. Well, so yeah, the second one is not a building, it is just a lamp post. I'm going to revamp this one. It's looking a little bit bland, is that how you say it? I guess so. So yeah, I'm going to stick with the stripped oak logs, but completely revamp the shape, because this is a little bit too non-interesting, isn't it? Alright, let's see what I've made. And bam, here is a completely different shape. I've used in this one the stripped oak logs and some stairs to make this nice little shape. This is looking a little bit more like some fancy lamppost, but I really like it. Very foliages, yeah, lots of foliage, and yeah, I really like it. I also made a brown one as well, a little bit more darker one. I guess you can use this one in a more foresty village. For making this shape, I really just experimented. This is just another great tip or just thing you want to do with building. Just experiment, especially with some irregular or organic looking shapes. Just plop down some blocks and see what it's looking like. Using stairs is always a great idea for making some sort of arch or things like that. So yeah, and again, the foliage on the ground just finishes up this build or lamppost. And yeah, altogether it is looking very lush and at least a little bit better than the previous lamppost from the Plains village. So let's move on. So here it is, a simple, how do you call it, flower pedestal? I don't know, just a big flower pot with some flowers, some basic decorations actually for this whole village. And let's make this a whole bunch more interesting. It is a whole lot bigger, as you can see. I've made some features out of trees. So as you can see, I replaced the flowers in this build with some trees and decorated the surroundings with all sorts of oak materials, some stripped oak, some trapdoors, some stairs, and some normal oak planks as well. So yeah, another lush revamp, very green and peaceful looking build, a place to have a rest, meditate a little bit, although it is very big in comparison to the original thing and it's not really looking the same, but that doesn't need to be the case all the time actually. In the case of revamping, I recommend making all the things that you build a little bit bigger so you can put more detail into it, put some more variation in the block palette, and yeah, just making your builds when you're revamping some existing build generally bigger. It is often more easy to make it more interesting and more detailed. Another tip for revamping this time. Let's move on to the fourth build in this revamp. The fourth one is a pretty simple fence. I'm going to revamp this one, probably make it a whole bunch more interesting because this is just one sort of block and we don't want that in some revamping, do we? So let's see what I've made from this simple fence. I certainly made it a little bit more detailed. Again, with the arches, I guess I'm sticking with those sort of designs in this revamp. I really like those sort of arches with the stripped oak logs and the oak plank stairs. And yeah, in this case, the tip is just make the ground where the animals are living in way more detailed. They're constantly roaming around, trampling all the grass inside, so I've went for that sort of vibe. No more grass can live in this pen, all just dirty vibes. I also added some features like the water bins, or how do you call it, and some eating places for the cows. In Minecraft, these blocks have a whole other purpose, but they certainly look like some things that can be used in these sort of pens. So when you're building, you also want to not look at the function of the block, but more look at the texture, the colors, all those sort of things. Don't look at the things that it's actually used for in Minecraft, because that's not useful in building in Minecraft. So yeah, another tip, just look at all the blocks in Minecraft. Maybe there will be one perfect for the situation that you are building in. So let's move on. Now for the paths. Let's make this whole village a little bit more interesting and lived in by revamping the paths. I also made a video about these little decorations, but yeah, here they are. A fireplace for a nice environmental and some little more particles, some more life in this village. A simple hay bale depot thingy. It is very simple, only used 2 blocks for this one. Then we have the wood storage. Again, these rails normally are not used as decorative blocks, but yeah, in this case they really look like they tied down the logs very nicely. That's the thing. And also the campfires are looking very good as a detailed block for a little bit more smaller logs together with the larger logs. And coming around to the last thing here, a just normal barrel storage, just like the hay bales over there. Just plop down some barrels, some lanterns, and you have a nice decoration. And I guess these guys have a job as well. Look at him. And I made the path itself also a little bit bigger and give it a little bit more texture and windiness. A path can't be very straight in this form like this, right? So yeah, mix in the blocks, make it a little bit bigger and a little bit more organic shaped, and you have a nice path. Now for the builds again, I'm going to revamp this one. I definitely want to integrate the main thing of this build, the wool port thing here, and the roof design I also want to keep, like those cross sections here in the middle. So yeah, let's look at the revamped version of this building. And like with the first building I revamped, I used the same blocks. As you can see, a way bigger port area with the same colors of wool, a little bit of greenery and decorations all around. I've again used these techniques for detailing the walls a little bit more, give it a little bit more depth and detail with all these different blocks. I also added some oak, stripped oak logs into the mix there to break up the bland and very boring looking color of roof. If you make bigger roofs, you really need something else in the roof than just oak. Stairs and planks and such, you really need to mix up the boring and large flat areas like these. I also added some flower pot window thingies to make it more interesting, and throughout the whole building I also hang some lanterns. Be sure to light up your builds pretty good so you can admire your builds at night as well. The villagers are certainly happy with it, and I am too. Let's move on to the next house. Well, I keep saying that I'm going to revamp a house next, but yeah, again, it's something else. It is this centerpiece of the village, a well with the bell. And yeah, let's make this centerpiece of the village a whole bunch bigger and a whole bunch more detailed and interesting. So walking into this thing, it is big, very, very big. What? So yeah, I revamped it a little bit. I made a organic shape in the middle. I wouldn't recommend doing these sort of organic shapes at the beginning of your building skill time, Minecraft building times, because I really had a struggle doing this. Organic shapes, making organic shapes is, I find, very hard and very difficult to pull off, even in these sort of small scales like this little stony feature. But if you do want to make these sort of things, start out with just one block and texture it later. I just started with the stone blocks with this build, and later on used the mossy cobblestone and the andesite and such, and the foliage later on in this build when I was done with the rough shape. I also made this nice irregular round shape around it to make it a little bit more special and make it look like this is really the center point of the village. I also surrounded it by trees to make it a little bit more grand than it already is, but yeah. The main thing to say for this build, if you're starting out a organic shaped build or something, you're gonna need to put some time into it, because organic shapes are very hard to make, I find. Well, except from when you're being Scar, because he's just too good at building. Very good at building. Alright, let's move on to the next build, I think. This time it is a build. Alright, a terracotta house, you say? Let's revamp this house. The shape is not very interesting, but let's make something out of this terracotta. Let's see what we can do with the features like this terracotta, and also the white and yellow glass panes, and also the roof design with those little windowy things. I want to copy and paste over to the revamped version. Let's see what I made. I think this is one of my favorites. I really like this build. Look at it. It is really just looking very cozy. Look at it. I especially like the combination of the bricks, polished granite and granite stairs, I think. Yes. And yeah, overall this sort of shaped roof I also really like. And yeah, I really think that I've made a great revamp. Here I still used the terracotta, but also mixed in a little bit of, I think that's mushroom blocks, mushroom stem blocks. Yeah, so as you can see, mushroom stem blocks you normally don't want to use in a build in real life. Why would you do that? But in Minecraft you can, and it's all about the texture. Really don't think about it that it's the mushroom stem, just think about that it's the beautiful block that can fit in your build perfectly. So yeah, I would want to live in this house, really. A nice little cozy place. I even with this build did the interior, as you can see, very cozy and very cramped, but I really like the look of all this. Alright, let's move on to the next build, and we're almost at the end, I think. So yeah, let's see the last couple of builds. I did it again, I'm not going to revamp a build next, I'm going to revamp this farming place. Yes, let's see what we can do for this poor little farmer. Am I right? This time I worked with levels. I think if you want to make a nice little farming area, especially in a hilly area, you really want to make some levels, different levels in your farming areas. This makes it very interesting and very good looking, I think. And I think this guy also really likes it. I also added a tree on top to make these crops grow a little bit in the shadow. Another pretty cool, nice little build. In these sort of cases, builds, you really just want to randomly place down all sorts of blocks. I used buttons, slabs, stairs, trapdoors, all sorts of things to make this look a little bit more organic and interesting. I also thickened up the place here, so it really looks like the tree is part of the farming area. And the leafage, of course, again around, I think moss, the introduction of moss in the 1.17 update was really a good choice for the beginner builders, because yeah, you can just literally place down one moss block bone meal it, and you just have a pre-made foliage slash surrounding decoration. Great, let's move on. So let's end off the village revamp with some more bigger buildings. Let's revamp this building next. Let's see what I made. And it is certainly bigger than the original one. Yes, this one took a little bit longer as well. As you can see, lots and lots of details. I even used some spruce wood this time. And yeah, also the combination of some white blocks made this second story of this house a little bit more interesting. If you're making bigger buildings like this one, you really need some contrasting colors. Not all brown, gray and green, because otherwise it's going to look a little bit boring, I find. So yeah, look for some contrasting colors. In this case, white, to make these builds a little bit more interesting. And as you can see, the roof is also organic shaped with these nice little fantasy peaks. Yes, and lots of foliage and randomness in the roofs. I have been putting off this build, this revamp of the cleric's church for a long time now. I don't really know how I'm going to do this, because yeah, it's a very one material based building and I don't want to stick with that. Let's see what I made from this. I hope I pull it off. Here it is. It was very time consuming. This is not the first design that I did of the cleric's church thingy. I redid a whole bunch of it and it took a lot of time. I'm definitely not that good of a builder yet. This took a lot of time, but yeah, in the end result is pretty nice, I guess. Apart from all the gray that is used in the original design, I also added some wood in because yeah, I really felt like it needed to have a little bit more colors in it. And I also, as you can see here in the back, added a nice little organic shaped chimney. This was also a thing. Took a lot of time again. Organic shapes are hard. They are definitely hard, and you don't need to think that you're going to pull that off in just a couple of minutes. The tower is made out of all sorts of gray blocks, as you can see. Gray wool, gray concrete and gray concrete powder. Put some nice window design thingies in, and this build is finally, after a lot of trial and error and redoing things, a finished build. Let's see the last building. The farmhouse. I definitely want to keep it open like this and make a nice little fence design again around the house. Let's see if I can pull this build off for the first time. I hope so, Piggy. And bam! Here it is. I used the same fence design from the fence revamp that I did in one of the first things of revamping this village. It's pretty much the same. And I also, of course, added a building next to it. It's looking pretty snazzy. Very basic building, just a frame and a lot of cobblestone slash moss variation in the inside. I used fences instead of windows for this one. I recommend this very much if you're making barn looking buildings, because yeah, barns don't normally have windows in it. And I also added this nice little hay bale roof, as if the people that are living here are storing it right above the pig barn thingy. Alright, so another building that is worked out pretty good. And this was the last building in this village. So that was it. There are definitely way more buildings than I revamped in this video, but yeah, they're all just similar shaped and would be looking very similar to the buildings that I already have built. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a little bit more about building yourself. This is all very experimental. I just started this project when I just started building. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think of my building skills. And be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more building stuff, for more redstone stuff, for all sorts of more stuff, Minecraft stuff. And yeah, my name is Pixlr. I hope you enjoyed. Much love. See ya.